This meeting will be broadcast live on Channel 8 and on Zoom. The public may participate remotely by following the call-in information on the bottom of the live broadcast screen. For the Zoom meeting information relating to remote participation, please contact Cindy Knox, IT Director at cknox@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8252 prior to the meeting. Could now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any changes to the agenda?
I have none.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Seconded.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair says that. Agenda approved. There are no announcements this evening. However, I think because this is a remote meeting, I am supposed to announce everybody that's present at the table. So it's myself, Select Board Member Copeland, Select Board Member Hood, and Select Board Member Livingston, as well as Town Manager Robert Pontran and Assistant Town Manager Carly Antonellis. And is there any public input for this evening?
Calvin Moore here. I have some public questions.
Okay, go ahead, Calvin.
I'm very concerned about what's happening with the parking spaces on Main Street. The front of Lagos's are all gone. The parking lots along the mobile station are all gone. The parking lot from Moore's to the subway are all gone. One more is gone on Washington Street. Now, in front of the town hall, those parking spaces are gone. One more is gone in front of the bank. And if you start counting, I guess all depends on who wants to count. I can count an additional 10 to 14 that have disappeared on Main Street. And I think it's just one more reason why merchants can't make it is when all these parking spaces get taken away. I don't understand the justification of it at all. Washington Street was all going to get blocked off until I got involved, and we ended up with a mutual agreement of only 50 feet. So I'm not sure where the priorities are on Town Hall and the merchants. You guys are taking our parking spots away, and it makes no justification at all. And all you guys are doing is making a faster thoroughfare for commuters to go right on through town without stopping. The people that do want to stop on Main Street to shop, you're pushing them into private parking lots, which is taking their parking spots. So I'd like to find out why this is all going on. It continues to go on.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman, through you, Calvin, it's Robert, the town manager.
Good evening, sir.
How are you? Why don't we?
Good to hear from you.
Likewise, I'm glad you're well. Why don't we connect, you and I, regarding the downtown parking plan and talk about some of your concerns and see what we can do. In other words, I understand what you're saying, and Carly and I will meet with you and some of our folks to further look at it, because we did implement.
I think it's.
Go ahead.
No, I'm up in the. I'm kind of on a remote here, so I'm trying to do the best. I wish before all this brand new Main Street got painted up, is that the merchants got involved in laying out the parking. But I accept your invitation. I'll be more than happy to do that with you folks. I will give you a call in your office maybe tomorrow.
Yep, and why don't we meet? We'll start there, and then we'll report back to the select board, and it's a problem to be solved.
All right. I thank you very much for your positive attitude. Appreciate it. Over and out. I'm disconnecting.
Okay. Thank
Bye,
you.
Calvin.
Thank you, Calvin.
Thank you very much, everybody. Yeah, bye-bye.
All right. Is there any other public input? Okay. Okay, with that, we'll move on to pass it off to Robert for the select board recognition of Fire Chief.
Mr. Chairman, members of the select board.
One second.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has people outside, but maybe we could open a window or something?
Those
Okay.
are bird, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted, you know, for people outside that could hear.
Round two.
Okay.
Members of the select board, good evening, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome Fire Chief Robert Pedrazi and his wife Deb Pedrazi and their children couldn't be here, Jennifer Pedrazi and Justin Pedrazi, who's a firefighter down in Atlanta, Georgia. And these are always bittersweet things to do because in one way we're saying goodbye to a great fire chief, a great man and a great friend who served the town of Ayer for 43 years, served the fire department in the town, started in 1977 as a call firefighter, worked up to firefighter, lieutenant, captain, and has served with great honor and distinction as our chief for the last 14 years. And now he's on to the next adventure, and we're happy for him and Deb. And we thank you, Deb, for sharing him with us all these years, for me at least the last 10 years. And just on a personal note, I know others want to say things as well. For the last 10 years as the town manager, Chief Robert Pedrazi is one of the best. A great department head, put all of his people first, the town first, lived in town, knew everything about town. Impeccable, the chief's timing, everything get done right away, Chief. And I just want to say to you personally, as Robert, you share the same first name, but also as the town manager, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all of your service. And we wish you nothing but health and happiness in your retirement. And we know you're not going that far away. So as the French say, au revoir till we meet again. All the best.
I'm sure it won't be that long.
I know. So I know other members, I'm sure may want to say something, and then we have a presentation and would like to do some pictures.
I'll say something. In the whole time, as a select person, of course, I knew you before then. But what a joy it has always been every time you walked into the room. You have such a positive attitude, even when things didn't seem like maybe you should, but you did. And you came in with that positive attitude, with let's get the mission done. And it just was always such a pleasure. The things that you have done, the respect that I have seen this town give you over the years, it's just been beautiful to watch. And you are such a dear person, and we wish you, both of you, nothing but the best. And we thank you profusely for everything you have done for this town.
Thank you.
So Chief, we worked together for a few years here and also on the finance committee. And over the years, I have nothing but deep respect for you. You've always held your job to the highest standard. You've set the bar very high for everyone here in town. You've served this town relentlessly and with such dedication. You will be sorely missed. Outside of just working together, I've always enjoyed, even when we see each other just around town, the warm smile, the firm handshake, going out of your way to say hi. Always greatly appreciated. And I know you're not going away, but and we'll see each other around, but you will dearly be missed. Thanks for everything.
And then just sort of echo, I know I've only been in Ayer for a little while, so I haven't known it that long, but in that short amount of time, I have appreciated your professionalism, your wisdom in discussions that we've had, whether it be about your job, about the need for the deputy chief, whatever. I just found what you were able to convey very helpful. And then just knowing how much respect your staff has for you, you will be sorely missed, but well-deserved retirement. Thank you very much.
I've worked with all of you at the table for quite a number of years, and I would just like to say thank you for always listening to what I had to say. It's not an easy job to come into a selectmen's meeting and explain things. and you guys always listened and understood what was going on. You know, being a fire chief isn't an easy job, and the first 13 and a half years, there was no deputy chief. So it was just me coming in here at a meeting. Tim came with me a lot of times in capital planning meetings and stuff as the senior captain, but most of the time, you know, I was here by myself. You guys always listened and thought about what I was saying. I could watch each one of you when I was making a presentation. You weren't looking around, and you were listening to what I had to say and giving it good thought. So I'd like to say thank you for that, because you put a lot of time into things, and you get a short period of time to do presentations. You know, so it's always nice that you get that kind of respect. And, you know, I'd just like to say, I work, you know, I've been on the fire department forever. My grandfather was on the fire department, and my father was on the fire department. My son was on for a short period of time. You know, so I'm a third generation, and he was fourth generation. It's kind of been a family business. I enjoyed coming to work every day. There wasn't one day that I didn't enjoy coming to work. I don't think a lot of people can say that. You know, it's a great job. I'd like to say thank you to my wife who lets me go to work every day. And, you know, there's times when, and Tim will tell you the same thing, you're going to sit down to eat and the phone goes off. So Thanksgiving dinner, it was 2 years ago, I think, we just pulled the turkey out, I was just getting ready to cut it, and somebody else's turkey caught on fire. And, you know, it just that stuff happens, and it's not easy for the spouses when that stuff happens. You know, and just, there's no time, I can go. And that's it. Thank you.
All right. So we have some presentations, Chief and Deb, that we'd like to, some gifts, and then we'd like to, if possible, take a few photos, if possible. So, I don't know who wants to. Yeah. So Selectman Hood has a citation on behalf of the select board. Well, why don't we start with that?
Certificate of recognition. This certificate is presented to Fire Chief Robert Pedrazi in valuable recognition of 43 years dedicated service, 14 as Fire Chief, to the Ayer Fire Department and the town of Ayer. Chief Pedrazi served the town with distinction in the capacities of call firefighter, fire lieutenant, fire captain, and fire chief. Additionally, the chief served as the town's emergency management director and on various town committees, initiatives, and projects throughout the years. The town of Ayer is forever grateful for his leadership and contributions to the town of Ayer. On behalf of the town of Ayer, the Ayer Select Board expressed their sincere gratitude, appreciation, and wishes him a well-deserved retirement of health and happiness.
Thank you very much.
The picture that also in the town, in the war. Carly did say this is a older one.
Yeah, I'll explain.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. We know you have a passion, Chief, for woodworking.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you very much.
Chief Pedrazi, if I can just, we can just ignore you for a moment. Yeah.
yeah,
I wasn't giving these to him. From the town of Ayer, from me, and all of us, thank you so much for sharing you with us. We know that it was very stressful for you numerous times. Don't cry, you're gonna make me cry. Every time you walked out that door, okay? But I hope you know, I can't look at you. I hope you know. I hope you know just how beloved that he is, how everything he did for this town and everything is so appreciated. but none of it could have happened if he didn't have you. Because as your husband pointed out, without you, he couldn't have done this job. So you, with your support, you lovely woman. It's because of you that we had in this town such a strong chief. So as a token of our appreciation, thank you so much.
And then if we could get a picture with Chief and Mrs. Pedrezzi and the whole board, please. All right, straight ahead. Excellent. All right.
Robert.
Okay.
Yes, yep. Yeah, Carla, get in the photo.
Yeah, we got somebody. Janice.
Chair back, Susan's not getting in the picture. Oh, I can take a picture of everyone.
Janice, if you want to get it.
Okay, that's it, yes. Got it, got it.
There you go.
Got
All
it.
right.
We'll figure this out now that Carly can stay right there.
Okay,
You got all of us?
I got everybody looking this way. Excellent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Maybe I will show.
We love you guys. All right.
So copy pay action.
Yeah, we would do that. Maybe do the swearing in there so that they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
We could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The terrible.
So come on over. This one's page of chest. Can we open the door just so they can hear that? Yeah, we can. Just so they can hear.
Susan, you want to try to crack that door, I think?
Okay, thank you. The next item up is the ratification of appointment of the new air fire chief.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Select Board, thank you. It gives me great pleasure to present the appointment for Fire Chief this evening. And before we introduce the appointment and move forward to ratification, Mr. Chairman, if I could just explain briefly the search process that was involved. I know the board is aware of it for the public's benefit. I'm also joined on the Zoom platform by Groton Fire Chief Steele McCurdy, who was the chair of the search committee. So as the board is aware, when Chief Pedrezzi formally indicated his intent to retire on October 8th, Chief Pedrezzi and I discussed at great length, along with Chief McCurdy in Groton, who's a great mentor to our department and a great partner, about the process moving forward. And we're pleased to report that we have a lot of qualified, strong internal candidates, and we're fortunate as a town to have that. So the decision was made to do an internal process. And the job description was developed and the job posting, it was posted internally. I appointed an internal review committee, which I'm grateful for all who served. It was chaired by Groton Fire Chief Steele McCurdy, Chief Bornham of Pepperell, Chief Wadzinski of Littleton, Deputy Police Chief Brian Gill, and the Assistant Town Manager Carly Antonella served on the internal review panel. We had 3 qualified candidates, and the search committee developed the questions and the screening process. And through you in a moment, I'll just ask Chief McCurdy just speak briefly about that process. And just that's where we came with the recommendation for this evening. And before I get into that, just ask through the chair, Chief McCurdy, did you want to add anything?
We did a great job kind of covering everything, Robert. But I would just like to let the board and the public and Ayer know that really you have an absolutely phenomenal fire department with an incredible amount of talent. And, you know, obviously these are huge shoes to fill, filling Bob Pedrazi's spot. But I think we found the guy who can do that. So I'm very happy with the ultimate selection for fire chief in the town of Ayer.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you for chairing the search committee.
No problem.
So without further ado, I will present and just read, the board has this in a packet. Dear Honorable Select Board members, in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 79 of the Acts of 2018, I hereby appoint Deputy Fire Chief Timothy Johnston as Ayer Fire Chief effective October 8th, 2020 upon the retirement of Fire Chief Robert Pedrazi. I respectfully request that the Select Board vote to ratify this appointment in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 79 of the Acts of 2018. And before I turn it over to the Select Board, I just want to point out that Deputy Chief Johnston comes to the position extremely qualified. In his cover letter, which stuck out to me right from the beginning, and the committee unanimously recommended him on September 11th for appointment. And I will ask Chief Pedrazi to say a few words as well. It reads, throughout my career, I have demonstrated strong leadership, ethics, and values. I have great planning and organizing skills, and am comfortable with the financial aspects of managing a department. My approachable and outgoing personality will be beneficial when dealing with personnel within the fire department, town, and community. As a lifelong resident of Ayer, I have the passion and requisite knowledge to be Ayer's next chief. And Deputy Johnston has a bachelor's degree in fire science, 38 years of experience on the fire service. He has served as our senior captain on the Ayer Fire Department for the past 19 years and was recently appointed the deputy chief of the fire department. And I'm confident and echo the search committee's recommendation that Deputy Johnston will do an excellent job as our next fire chief. And through you, Mr. Chair, Chief Pedrazi, I know you've worked together. Do you have any?
We've worked together. We were hired at the same selectmen's meeting. I told that story to everyone. 35 years ago. Tim's an excellent choice. He's worked very hard to get where he is. He's through all classes, certifications. He's done everything that he can do to better himself as a firefighter. And he's been dedicated to the town. His family's been dedicated to the town. His dad was on the fire department for years. We basically grew up together in the fire department, both families. So I've known him pretty much my whole life. The neighbors. I don't know what else you can say. He's the right choice.
Thank you, Chief.
Any questions? Board members?
No questions. I can say this, that though Mr. Johnson and I, Deputy Fire Chief Johnson, and I don't know each other very well personally, what he doesn't know is because we've lived in the same neighborhood for the longest time, is that oftentimes I saw him, it was the way he carried himself as he walked, that you knew that he knew how to lead. You know, sometimes you can tell by a presence, and he has that presence. And I do believe that the town of Ayer is going to be in excellent hands with him as our new fire chief.
So, any questions?
Yeah, I think they'll do a great job. Captain Johnson and I, we've known each other for a few years, and, he's accompanied Chief Pedrazi on a few meetings here and there. He's always handled himself with respect, and I have a lot of confidence in his ability to lead and take the department to the next level, and stay dedicated to the people there. So, welcome.
Mr. Chairman, before the board ratifies the vote, through you, Deputy Johnson, before the appointment, do you have any words, or why don't you introduce your family that is with you? And I know you have a fan club out here too.
I would like to echo the statements of Chief Pedrazi that this isn't possible without the support of my family.
This is your wife Cheryl. Why don't you?
My wife Cheryl. My brother Kevin in the front row.
Yeah.
Behind in the corner is my son Greg, his girlfriend Meredith, who's also a firefighter, and my daughter Lauren and her fiance Matt. And certainly without the support of them, this isn't all possible. It's like the chief said, you're away from family a lot, and but it's something they've supported me. Without her support, I mean, like the chief said, you leave all the time, and if I don't have her back there kind of keeping things in check, and don't get me wrong, they gave us a run for their money when they were teenagers. But they turned out to be, very good grown adults, and we're very proud of them. And also, if I could, I might echo like from the managers, assistant town manager, the board, thank you for all the support through the process, and I look forward to working with you all. And as long as, I look forward to working with the other departments. I've gotten to know some of them over the last few months, with the chief, and also the fire department members, their support, the words of encouragement, and also Jan. I mean, between Chief Pedrazi and Janet Poitras, the admin assistant down there, they've kind of set me on a path for success. So I can't think of them, even in the last 2.5 weeks have been kind of condensed, but overall last 3 months, it's been really good. I think I'm getting set in the right direction. So I thank you for all the support. I'm looking forward to working with everyone.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that the select board appoint Deputy Fire Chief Timothy Johnson as the new Ayer Fire Chief, effective October 8th.
I will second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair says aye. Okay, it's ratified.
Mr. Chairman, through you, we have the Ayer Town Clerk, Susan Copeland, present to administer the oath and swear in the new fire chief.
Your family.
So first, Mrs. Johnston's going to pin the badge on
Yes.
Chief Johnston. Okay, I'll have you state your name.
Timothy Johnson.
Do solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially perform all duties incumbent upon you as chief of the fire department for the town of Ayer, according to the best of your ability and understanding, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the fire department, the Constitution and the laws of the United States and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and under the rules, regulations, ordinances, and bylaws of the town of Ayer, made under the authority thereof. So help you God.
I do.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I don't think we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Board members?
Yeah.
Pretty dressed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
there want any other pictures? We can do some more outside unless you want some more. It's up to you guys. What you
No,
want.
if you just.
And then Carly, you'll just send me a text and I'll come back.
Yeah, for the, yeah,
That
yep,
works then? Just
Yep,
give me a
perfect.
heads up and I'll just come back.
perfect.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we'll see the board at the end of the meeting.
Congratulations, Jim. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert, congratulations. That window. There you go, welcome.
I won't take all the distractions.
Okay, they can stay.
Yeah.
It's actually quite refreshing.
Yes.
Nice.
Those are the fun things. So the next item on the agenda is public hearing for a poll petition by National Grid for Bly Street. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Deteriorator, yeah, okay, been a while since we did this. Notification to abutters, Town of Ayer Select Board Public Hearing Notice. The Air Board of Select Board will be conducting a public hearing on Tuesday, October 6, 2020 at 6:05 PM at the Ayer Town Hall, first floor meeting room, 1 Main Street, Ayer, Mass. 01432. You are able to participate remotely, see below. Regarding a petition by National Grid to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along and across the following public way. Bly Street, National Grid to install 1 SO pole on Bly Street, beginning at a point approximately 101 feet west of the center line of the intersection of Forest Street and Bly Street, and continuing approximately 40 feet in a west direction. The name of the applicant, National Grid, date of public hearing, Tuesday, October 6, 2020, time of public hearing, 6:05 PM, location of public hearing, remote participation, first floor meeting room, Ayer Town Hall, 1 Main Street, Ayer, Mass. 01432.
And are there any questions on this?
Do we have any information over here?
I believe we do. Is there a representative from National Grid on the line?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
My name is Robert Williams. I'm the representative.
So I guess I'll just, Robert, thank you for your patience tonight. I know we had a lot going on before we got to the petition.
Oh, yeah, thank you. No problem. I looked very great things are happening. New fire chief, that's awesome.
I don't have any questions. It seems very straightforward.
It seems definitely straightforward.
Do we have any abutters on the line? Are there any abutters? Okay, just wanted to double check.
Okay. So if there's no questions, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the request for National Grid to install 1 SO pole on Bly Street beginning at a point approximately 101 feet west of the center line at the intersection of 4th Street and Bly Street, continuing approximately 30 feet in a west direction as presented.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
The chair says aye. So the petition is granted.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that the public hearing be closed.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair says aye. Public hearing is closed.
Congratulations, National Grid.
Thank you.
Thank you for waiting.
Mr. Chair,
Have a good night.
I just got a communication from Cindy that there's a participant online that missed public input and would like to give public input. Do you think she's off the line now, but she did send in the chat. So I just wanted to let you know, we'll send it to you guys tomorrow, and if we can follow up at the next meeting.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is from the Affordable Housing Committee. And somebody on from the,
Oh, you got a group of us.
all right.
Well,
on, Sean. You know we got a great team here.
Um, All right, so first item up is the appointment of a new committee member.
That's correct. What we did is we had a resignation from Steve Wetzel. And with that, we also have had a great participant who has been showing up to all our meetings, Sarah. And we'd like to go ahead and have her introduce herself, as well as allow, I believe she wrote a wonderful letter stating her concerns and how she wants to participate. And I think it would be an awesome, awesome addition to our group.
I agree.
Right, Sarah?
I'm not prepared to introduce myself. Thank you for having me.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I received a very nice letter from Ms. Withy, as the board has a copy of it. And I know that over the last 12 to 18 months, she has been very interested and very involved in many aspects of the town, and that's to be commended. And I know that with Janet's affordable housing group, she's been very involved. So I respectfully recommend that the board vote to appoint Sarah Withy to the Ayer Affordable Housing Committee.
Okay, any questions?
No, I think we're gonna have a good member on that committee.
I agree. All right. Okay, so is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that Sarah Withy be appointed to the Affordable Housing Committee, effective immediately.
I will second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And Chair votes aye.
We're smiling under the mask, just so you know.
So congratulations, Sarah, and also thank you very much for stepping up and for your desire to be part of this.
Thank you very much. Now, Alicia, I believe that there is brochures for the select board.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so this would be the next part of the presentation, but I want to let you know that one of the tasks that Sarah said, let me help. I said, can you make a brochure up? So that threefold brochure that you have, that's one of the things that we are going to be using at the fall town meeting. I'll just give a little, all right, so people can see. And with this, it's pretty much straightforward of what we're asking for with regards to the Affordable Housing Trust. So give you guys a little chance just to peruse it while I go ahead and share my screen.
Could you speak up a little bit?
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you hear me better?
Yes.
Okay. And this is what we had for the presentation, as we had two public information sessions. We've got some great feedback from individuals from the community with good questions. Some of them have been added as answers within these slides. This here will be the fall town meeting that will be able to go ahead and share this. Again, I'm just going to go through them quickly because I know that we've all been talking about this housing trust. This is something that we've wanted to create within the town of Ayer for a while. Now that we do have some extra monies, a chance for, a continued growth and everything, this would be, again, it would have been great if we had it before the pandemic, but now let's move forward and get this going. So this is one of the warrant articles that you will be reviewing again tonight, and from that draft warrants. So we're going to discuss a little bit about what is the housing trust, so that you have the expansion of affordable housing trust within a community. Why do we want to do it here now? All right, go ahead and make sure that there is going to be affordable housing available for everybody within the community. One way or another, we'll try to, work out something to get, like I say, affordable housing for individuals. We've got the surcharge increase with CPA funds. We got that 3% that was passed. Part of that, we want to go ahead and keep emphasizing housing because, again,
We want to stick with that master plan initiative to keep Ayer diverse. And then also too, because of all the zoning bylaw changes, they've got that inclusionary housing zoning or housing zone bylaw. It has the chance for an in lieu of payment. So we'll get additional monies from developers. Also too, within, again, because of the pandemic and such, there are individuals that are having a tough time putting food on the table because they're trying to get their rent. Well, if we go ahead and able to go ahead and pay their rent to the landlord for them, again, as a temporary basis or whatever, we can then, help out the individuals. So what this goes ahead, and the first thing that this housing trust is going to emphasize is to support rental assistance for low and moderate income housing. And the payments are made directly to the landlord. And then you get to do other types of supporting other projects, like we can work with either a profit or a nonprofit developer so that they have a chance to create affordable housing within the community, and then work with properties that are facing some sort of these restrictions. When we look at potential funding sources, again, the CPA funds is the perfect thing because this is something that was in, and this is what I did a little bit of research, was in the original 2001 CPA Act. However, it wasn't really spelled out. So in 2012, what they ended up doing is expanded it a little bit, so it made it a lot more clear that rental assistance and such was available. So you now have the chance to fund this housing fund, this housing trust. And again, same thing with the in lieu of fees, the town of Ayer can go ahead and fund it, additional grants, as well as private contributions. So all this is, like I say, above and beyond the stuff that Alicia and the Office of Community and Economic Development has already been working on. And I just listed some of them. So as you all know, it has to go to town meeting, October 26th, and this has got to be approved of accepting this affordable housing trust. Then if that is approved by the town, then we have another warrant article of looking for CPA funds as sort of like a seed money. We're starting small. Everybody's been asking, how come only $30,000 when CPA's got this other additional monies? It's like, you got to remember this is at the start of it. So we're going to start small with the 30,000. We're going to have to, we've been developing the Affordable Housing Trust bylaw. So we're tweaking it, looking at town council's feedback and everything. So we're going to look for approval at the annual town meeting in the spring for the bylaw. During all this time, we're still going to get public feedback, make sure that we're, going in the right direction. We're going to recommend the individuals for the boards of trustee. We've got 7-member board, and develop the guidelines and applications. And I want to give you guys a little bit information about the board of trustees. You're looking at 7 trustees. It's going to be recommended, the individuals would be recommended, but it has to be appointed by the select board. These are some of the things that we're looking for: people that have got some sort of banking or real estate, residential development, some sort of background in that. But one of the, all the trustees got to be Ayer residents, and we want, it has to be, the board of trustee has to have a member of the select board on it. We're also recommending that it have somebody from the housing committee and the CPC, as well as the planning board. We've been receiving strong support from you guys as well, the planning board, finance, council or committee, council of aging, community and economic development, and the housing authority. So this is the last slide because, again, I wanted to emphasize it's a new program from Ayer. We're just going to go ahead and get our feet wet. So we're going to start cautiously. And I've got Alicia's name and the CPA email addresses so that as we get more questions from the public, we'll be able to take care of it and such. This gives you a little idea, like I say, of the presentation that we'd like to make. We do have the bylaw, like I say, that we've been tweaking. We do have the statute from Mass General Law. that will be available for the town meeting, as well as Sarah's brochure that she developed. So with that, we will have more information should people want to ask at the town meeting. But this gives you an idea of how it's progressed and where we stand. And if it gets approved, we get funding, then it's all steam ahead, full steam. So are there any questions?
Not at the moment, for me, yes.
No, I don't have any questions.
That was a very thorough presentation, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, like I say, got a great team working on it, so this has worked out really well. And we do appreciate all your support. I know, Sean, that's one thing that, was on your ballot. So it's like, to go ahead and be able to work with housing. So, and this time, whatever, if you've got any other questions, that come up afterwards, let us know. How about anybody from the public with any questions? All right.
Okay, great.
I gather that's it.
All right, thank you, Janet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Next agenda item is Superintendent Mark Wetzel from the DPW. Hello, Mark.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So I have 3 items for tonight and a 50-slide PowerPoint presentation that we'll go through quickly. No, just kidding. Not quite 50.
Mr. Chairman,
So
Mr. Wetzel, only the assistant town manager laughed.
the first item on the agenda is the execution of the contract for the School Street Sidewalk construction project. The DPW received a grant for up to $200,000 to put a new sidewalk in on School Street to go from East Main Street down to Peroni Park. And we designed it in-house, put it out to bid. We received 4 bids ranging from $106,220 to $184,455. So the low bidder is D'Ambrosia Inc. from Weymouth. We checked their references and qualifications. They're a Mass DOT pre-qualified contractor, and so we recommend award to D'Ambrosia. And one of the since we are under budget, we checked with the state on the grant, and we have some unit prices that we can increase some of the quantities. So we had some asphalt sidewalk. We're going to do the whole thing in concrete sidewalk, so it'll be much more durable and attractive, as well as we're going to expand it a little bit down at Peroni Park. So we right now have the sidewalk tying into the walking path that goes around Peroni Park, but we're going to add a little bit more in the other direction. So we're requesting that the board vote to execute the contract with D'Ambrosia Inc. for the School Street Sidewalk construction project in the amount of $106,220 for signature by the board.
Any questions?
No questions.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to execute the contract with D'Ambrosia Incorporated for the School Street Sidewalk construction project in the amount of $106,220.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair says aye. And
So the next item is I wanted to provide the board with an update on the drinking water PFAS situation. We have a lot going on with that, and we'll get to that as I also have an item for explaining the warrant article for Spectacle Pond. Carly, can you share the screen?
I can, yep.
There we go.
Can't see that far away.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So I think it's important that that we provide the board updates on a regular basis, so that the citizens of Ayer understand what we're doing and that we're doing the best we can to keep the drinking water safe. There up until about 2 weeks ago, there was no regulatory limit for PFAS in the water. The EPA had set a health advisory of 70 parts per trillion for 2 of the PFAS chemicals. Then the Mass DEP changed it to 70 parts per trillion for 5 of the chemicals, and then they proposed a regulatory maximum contaminant level, or MCL, for 6 of the chemicals at 20 parts per trillion, and that was approved 2 weeks ago. We've known this has been coming since we first found the PFAS in the water, so the town was proactive, and we've been sampling and designing and constructing PFAS treatment. So we're ahead of most towns in Massachusetts. Under the new regulation, as I said, we're sort of ahead of the curve, but if we hadn't discovered PFAS in the water, we wouldn't have to really do anything until December 2021. There's currently, under the voluntary testing, 30 water systems that are above the 20 part per trillion level. And I'm thinking when everybody tests, you're going to see a heck of a lot more, which is going to create sort of a logjam on treatment, design, construction, and funding. Next slide, please. Just to give you an update on the sampling, we sample every quarter, and we monitor. Actually, this quarter, samples that we took in early September are probably the lowest we've seen in a while. And the only thing I can attribute that to is the drought, and I'm not quite sure. I have my theory on why the drought might lower the limits, but you can see at Grove Pond, finished water is for the Mass DEP 6 contaminants. The blending well 8 with well 6. We turned off well 7 and we use well 1 when we have to. And actually, well 7 is way down below what it has been in the past. But you can see we're about 15 parts per trillion. But we did take a sample when we were starting up the new Grove Pond PFAS treatment plant before we put it into the system, and we had a non-detect. So it is going to remove all of the PFAS, and we should be going online shortly, but I'll get to that in another slide. Spec pond wells also have contamination. The contamination isn't from Devon's, and as you can see, it's in the low to high 20s, and when we combine those, it's in the mid 20s. And then we also sample at our Washington Street water tank and our Pingree Hill water tank, which is more indicative of what's in people's drinking water, and you can see that's in the low 20s. So we're pretty close to the maximum contaminant level, but we can't guarantee that we'll always be that low depending on what wells we run. And as I mentioned, we have one of our best wells offline, and you can also see well 8 untreated has 262 parts per trillion, and not surprisingly, that's the well that's closest to Devon's. Next slide, please. So the Grove Pond PFAS treatment facility, there's a slide there on the left that shows basically it's just a couple big tanks. We have those silver vessels in the front are what are called bag filters. So if we get any media carryover from our green sand filters, then those protect the ion exchange filters. But then we have the big filters that flows through the first one, and then through the second one, and then out into the system. So the plant is substantially complete. We've doing our startup this week. As I mentioned, we we flushed the system and took the required samples and got those approved by the state. So so now we can start using it, but it's going to be a little bit of a slow process because we have to test everything as we're going, measure pressures and take water quality samples, but hopefully it'll be online by the end of this week. We did obtain an Army grant that covers the construction, the startup costs, and the annual operating costs. And now the construction is primarily done, we'll be seeking an amendment because there were some additional costs for the project. You can see on the right there, slide shows that we have a little computer that controls the whole thing. Next slide, please. So the Spectacle Pond PFAS treatment facility was bid on September 24th. The low bid was $5.15 million, and that was by the same contractor who built the Grove Pond facility and is also doing work at our wastewater treatment plant, doing some process and facility upgrades there. It's a contractor that I've worked with since the early 80s, so I have a good relationship with them, and they do a very good job. This treatment facility is going to be a little bit different than the Grove Pond, because instead of using an ion exchange media, we're going to be using a granular activated carbon, and there's some significant differences in the process with that. We're hoping that construction will start in November, and will probably continue through most of next construction season. Next slide, please. We're also doing a contamination source investigation. Mass DEP waste site cleanup is taking the lead on this. They've sent out letters to all of the major industries that are up gradient in the aquifer and may have used either some sort of PFAS products or firefighting foam for whatever reason. And for instance, we had all of our firemen at the meeting earlier, and they could probably tell you about a couple of the fires that have been out there that foam was used, and that's a source of the contamination, but it could be some other releases also. So the DEP is investigating that. Their process includes sending out a request for information to potential parties in the area. Then they conduct a site inspection and an audit of what they use for materials and how they store them and dispose of them. And then if they determine that there is a potential risk or release, then they will require an environmental site assessment. And I think one of the sites has completed the environmental site assessment, but it's going to be a long process, and so we don't really have anything conclusive to date, but we do have some potential areas. Next slide, please. And then some other stuff just to fill everybody in. So we sample all of the wells quarterly, and we track those and see if there's any changes in levels. And as I mentioned, this quarter it seems to be lower, and I can attribute, or I would attribute that probably to the drought and not as much recharge going through the aquifer and bringing the contaminants with it. We're coordinating closely with PACE in town. They meet on a regular basis. We provide them with updates, and they're very supportive of everything we've done. We continue to add our information on the town website, and there's the address if you are looking for information. I get a lot of phone calls about PFAS, particularly when we do something like this and people have questions, or when we send out our public notifications. We're also, this is kind of an interesting project. So Silent Springs is a nonprofit group that does different environmental projects, health-related projects. And so they received a grant from CDC to look at potential health impacts in towns that may have had PFAS in their water. So Ayer is one of the towns. So we're helping them by, we have a hydraulic model of our water distribution system, and we can put in certain amounts of chemicals under different flow scenarios and see how much of exposure there is. So for instance, we may see that out at the hospital, there's very little exposure because that's a long way from the source. but someone on at Barnum Road by the Rotary would have a fairly high exposure. So we've been working on that. It's pretty interesting with the technology that we have, and seeing what happens. The challenge with that is we don't really know before 2016 how much PFAS was in the water, and so we kind of have to guess. And actually, well number 8 was not put online until 2015, so we don't know what was happening before that. So we've come up with some different potential scenarios, but it'll be pretty hard to backtrack that. So any questions on PFAS?
No, thank you.
No, you're all PFAS'd out, huh? So that leads into the next set of slides. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we opened bids on the Spectacle Pond PFAS treatment facility, and I asked Town Manager Pomprion to put in a warrant article because we need a little bit more money, and I can go through where we came up with how much we need and some of the reasons. But spec pond wells provide 40% of the town water supply. The existing wells do have a treatment facility to remove the iron and manganese. That plant was built in 1984, and it hasn't had a lot of upgrades. We've upgraded the chemical feed system, some of the valves in it, but really the building is, it's 40 years old and starts to need a little TLC. So this was an opportunity to do some of that work also. The levels, as I showed before, the levels are between 20 and 30 typically in those wells. What was interesting was I envisioned that we would build the same treatment plant that we have at Grove Pond down here. And when we tested the different medias, the ion exchange media didn't work with the water at Spectacle Pond, and I'm not quite sure why, but we definitely couldn't use the same media. So the granular activated carbon was the best treatment process, but it changes some of the design criteria, and that's part of the reason why the cost is increased. Next slide, please. So the treatment design, there's a lot of site constraints on the site. So we ended up having to, instead of doing a building addition like we did at Grove Pond, we put in it's a separate building, and it's I think about 75 feet from the existing building. So there's a little more piping involved, and it's a little more complicated how it connects in. And we had to basically relocate well number 1 because of the site limitations and also some other issues we've had with that well. The GAC treatment vessels are twice as tall as the ion exchange vessels that we have in Grove Pond. You saw the picture of how big the Grove Pond vessels are, and you can think of that being twice as tall. The site issues are that there's wetlands on both sides of the plant. There's endangered species habitat, and there's also what we call a gravel esker or glacial esker on the site that needs to be have some excavation on it. And then, as I mentioned, the existing plant needs some upgrades. The generator, it wouldn't generate enough electricity for the new plant, plus it's an old diesel generator. We try not to keep diesel generators in well fields so they don't contaminate the well. The electrical and controls are all 80s vintage, so there's some upgrades to those, and we also need to put a new roof on the existing plant, so that's included in the design. Next slide, please. This is just a picture of the existing plant. You can see it's just a big brick building. And as I mentioned, on Grove Pond, we just extended the end of the building. But in this case, we couldn't. We're actually going to, if you look on the left and see there's 2 small buildings, those are the existing wells, and that's where the facility is going to be. Next slide, please. So here's a layout of the where the new building's going to be. And as you can see, there's wetlands on both sides and a fairly steep bank. The pond is on the bottom of the drawing, and then it's swamp on the other side. Next slide, please. And this is a floor plan. It shows we have 2 of the granular activated carbon vessels, and we have space to put 2 more in. If we develop, we are looking at a different water supply out in that area. So if we add more supply, we may have to add more vessels. So we wanted to design this with enough room. You notice we have a restroom out there also. It's a building code that you have to have a handicap accessible restroom, and the restroom that we have in the existing plant is not handicap accessible. So that was something that also added some cost to the project. And this just shows, you can get an idea. There's over on the left side, you can see a guy standing there in the restroom, and you can see how tall that vessel is and how tall the building has to be to get everything in there. And so the funding issues, which is what I really want to talk about. So town meeting has authorized $6.2 million for this project, which was the original cost estimate, and we're pretty close to that. The project as bid was $5.15 million. We did have some additional costs. As I mentioned, we have to replace one of the wells, and by the time we put everything together, we were over the 6.2 million. I'll show you that in a second. But we do have funding from the Massachusetts DEP Drinking Water State Revolving Loan Fund, which gives us a 0% interest loan with some principal forgiveness. The principal forgiveness is hard to calculate because it depends on how much they're funding in a year, and then they look at we're what they call a tier 2 community, so we get a certain percentage of the total amount that they're funding. And we also 2 weeks ago, when they announced that they were setting an MCL for the PFAS, they also announced grant awards, and Ayer was fortunate enough to get a $200,000 grant, which is for retroactive costs to date, which aren't included in the revolving loan fund. The other thing that I'm doing is I talked to the contractor to see if there was some potential value engineering cost savings, and we've identified between $75,000 and $100,000 of things that we could probably change. He had some ideas on how we could construct stuff a little differently and a little bit less expensive. So we're still working on that. But what we'll probably do after we sign the contract is develop a credit change order to save some additional funding. So here's the total project costs. So the engineering and design is $675,000. That included all the testing. We had to do some specialized, what we call rapid column testing on this. The replacement well, that's under construction right now. Miscellaneous costs are some of the costs we did for additional testing and for some marking out utilities and survey and things like that. So then the construction bid was $5,145,889. Under the state loan fund, we have to carry a 5% contingency. I think that's a little high, but that's a requirement. So that's $257,000. And then we also have to have construction services, which is basically managing the construction, inspecting everything, helping us with startup and operation and maintenance. And one of the factors in that also is that both the general contractor and the engineering company have to carry about 8.5% to 9% minority business and woman business. So that adds a little bit of cost to the project. So the total project is a little over $7 million. We have an appropriation of $6.2 million plus our grant of $200,000. So the additional funds needed is about $603,000. So can we have the next slide, please? If I have these in order.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on, sorry.
So what I'm requesting in the town meeting warrant article is $610,000 for the additional funding that's required, and this is the article that will be reviewed tonight. And that's it. Any questions?
No questions.
Nope.
Nothing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So next up is the town manager's report.
Members of the board, good evening. You have in your packet the warrants that were reviewed and approved since the board last met on September 18th. There are quite a few items, so in the interest of time, I'm going to move right into those. Under the administrative update, I just want to point out, we'll talk about it later, the main focus has been obviously starting up the budget process for FY22, which we'll talk about calendar, and preparations for the special fall town meeting on October 26th. Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'd like to, on the October 20th meeting, come with the plan for October 26th. Since we met IT and APAC, and we've hired a consultant, and we'll be using, it's reimbursable through the COVID funds to resolve once and for all the overflow room that will occur in real time. And we may ask some of you, if you're available, to participate. We're going to do a little test run, like a mini pre-test town meeting, so in real time. That will be completely resolved. We're also going to have a solution involving, as the board brought up, microphones, improved audio for participants in a safe way. The idea that we tried of having people stand up and speak with masks and so forth is a challenge. Not everybody projects and so forth. So that audio will also be resolved. We're also going to, as has been mentioned, reconfigure some of the seating. You learn by doing this ability in the main auditorium to maximize some seating and also have cluster seating. In other words, folks. Yeah.
Oh, you can finish.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just saying. So reservations are not required. We're going to accommodate everybody, but a system where if we know a family is coming and so forth, we can maximize there as well.
So, through the chair, I was just going to mention that because I think with the governor's new order, the amount of people that can be in that main room, should be more than what would have been allowed in a couple of months ago.
Yes, I believe that threshold has
Yeah.
changed since June.
Yeah, so that also helps too.
So, yeah, so what, on this Thursday, I'm meeting with the internal team to finalize the plan. On the 20th, we'll present everything to you all neatly put together, and for the public, take any last questions. And then we do want to test the system, as I mentioned, so do sort of like a mock mini town meeting with folks that are involved. So we are confident, based on lessons learned, that it will be even safer and more enjoyable, as enjoyable as town meeting can be on that. Lastly, as the board knows, and I appreciate the board's support last night and participation, the town did have a very successful police forum, and a special thanks to Chief Murray and his team and the whole department, as well as the board and the public. I think it was a great discussion, and I know that we'll be discussing in the near future these issues and next steps there. So with that, on COVID-19 update, the situation in Ayer remains pretty much status quo, which is a good thing. I'm sure the board is aware that the numbers in Massachusetts as a whole, there's been a slight uptick, not specific to Ayer at this time. We're going to talk later, and we'll get about the future of outdoor dining in Ayer. I touched upon the COVID preparations for the special town meeting, and on October 20th, we'll have another update. One of the things that Deputy Chief, soon to be Chief Johnston, does want to do as the emergency management directors convene the emergency management team to talk about COVID-19 protocols in the event that we have to activate the town shelter system over the winter. So we'll have more on that. The next item, item 3, is the review and the approval of the special fall town meeting, which will make it as simple as possible. There are 9 articles. The warrant closed last Friday. There are no citizens petitions. If you look at the warrant in your packet, the first 3 articles should look awfully familiar because those are the articles that were deferred at the annual town meeting. Article 1 replenishes the UDAG in the amount of $230,000. Article 2 is the forward funding of the town's pension assessment in the amount of $300,000. And I just want to point out in the explanatory note, as was the plan on June 15th or leading up to it before the article was deferred, there will be a very brief presentation at town meeting. And we'll probably do that presentation also publicly before town meeting, because we did it, it seems like it was 20 years ago in the spring, that shows the cost benefit to that. And Article 3 is the stabilization article. Now, we deferred these articles because we were in a great period of unknown at that time. As I've reported, the finances remain stable at this time, and we're recommending that these 3 articles move forward now so that this money can be appropriated. If we took no action, it would just stay in the free cash. I did meet with the FinCom on September 23rd, and they took a vote to reaffirm their recommendation to move forward on these 3 articles as well. Article 4, which happened very quickly, is an article to acquire the West Main Street property for a new senior center. And briefly, and the slide that is up here for the public's benefit, about 18 months ago, almost 2 years ago, the town meeting authorized $30,000 for feasibility study for a new senior center, which is desperately needed and is part of our master plan goals. The majority of that feasibility process with a professional consultant revolved around finding an adequate location and site for said center. And that's a huge challenge when you only have 9.5 square miles of land and have a lot of build out. We looked at multiple sites with a professional consultant, and what's on the screen is the site that ultimately was unanimously recommended. And this is, in terms of an address, is 211 West Main Street. There's a building right there now that's abandoned. Some folks may remember it as a video store way before it was a dry cleaner. Stars. So what you see here is a rendering of the site. The site is approximately 4.5 acres. It allows the appropriate parking, 75 parking spaces for the new center. The new center, it incorporates a walking path that abuts up to the river. It also puts the project right on West Main Street in accordance with the form-based code in terms of accessibility. We are proposing, because the feasibility study was completed during COVID, that we proceed in a 2-part process. Phase 1 is the acquisition of the property. Without the site, the project can't move forward. Phase 2 will be the actual project, which we'll talk about in more detail in the weeks ahead, and we'll go through the capital process and so forth. The whole project, if you will, because it's considerable. The project would be a debt exclusion or a capital exclusion. The other challenge we have, and it's always a challenge, I know the board is aware of this, is the acquisition of property for a municipal entity is always a challenge because it doesn't fit in a neat pathway, and timing is the issue. This is privately owned land that the owner is interested in selling to the town, but there is other interests. So in a nutshell, what I'm proposing is Article 4 does two things. One, it authorizes the Board of Selectmen to acquire the land. That's a legal requirement. The acquisition of land requires a 2/3 vote of town meeting. We will be prepared, and we'll do a presentation leading up to town meeting and a public presentation at town meeting on the land. The article second thing is it authorizes the Board of Selectmen or authorizes the town to borrow the money to acquire the land. A price has been agreed on. When I say agreed on, I mean nothing is done until there's a town meeting vote, purchase and sale by the board. An amount for the acquisition of land has been reached at $670,000. The owner's appraisal and the owner wanted $750,000. $670,000 for the 4.5 acres for the property. What I'm recommending, since we've reviewed this, that $670,000 is the price of the land. I'm asking the board to consider, and as you know, it's a borrow authorization up to, authorizing up to $750,000. And I want to make it clear, the land is $670,000. This is to cover any contingencies in the transaction of the land. So there's an $80,000 contingency. The benefit to that is then we don't get in a position that we would have to necessarily go back to town meeting for, say, $10,000 in a contingency and so forth. The acquisition of the property has some contingencies so the public understands. One is executed purchase and sale agreement, which the town is putting together. The contingencies are it's subject to a phase 1 21E environmental assessment. In talking with the owner, we've also agreed that if the phase 1 warrants a phase 2, there's agreement that the phase 1 and phase 2 have to be completed for the acquisition. The other thing is, as mentioned previously by the board, another requirement is a fair market appraisal. So all of those pieces have to be into play. This has all happened quickly. I understand that's a lot of information. I'm committed with the team. I talked to them today of doing a public information session on this in more detail before town meeting and a presentation at town meeting. I just believe that in order, and so does the team, and I see the director is on that, in order to move, there is no question that we need a new senior center. We can't even open the current senior center due to COVID-19 because of social distance. It's such a small space. It has outlived its purpose. There are ADA issues. This is not a reflection on the Ayer COA. This project is an opportunity, we believe, for the town to have a first-class senior center that will also have community space and other attributes to it, and will serve as the footprint. I'm not going to turn into Alan on anybody, but serve as the footprint for sort of the redevelopment of the West Main Street. The other last piece, in full disclosure, and I know that Selectman Hood is aware of this, under normal circumstances, and this is not normal, it's an extraordinary single case. Under normal circumstances, under the town's financial policies, because this expenditure is over $300,000, it would go through the capital process. The problem is that the capital process is just about to start, and this would include a debt or capital exclusion. However, the board, and it's up to the board, I'm not trying to put it in a spot, the board, and it happened one of the previous time, could decide to move this forward. I'm very sensitive to the fact that this is not to be precedent setting and that other projects of this magnitude should go through that process. The senior center piece, which could be about 1.5 to 2.5 million absolutely has to go through the process. The problem is the timing for the acquisition of the land. If we lose this opportunity, we'll have to go back to the drawing board and ultimately be up to town meeting if there isn't that comfort level, if you will. But I'm recommending respectfully that the board consider putting Article 4 forward, increasing the limit of the borrow to 750, understanding we don't borrow until we need it. And you can take to the bank that the land is 670,000. It's just that we all know in these types of transactions, if there's a $20,000 contingent or something unforeseen, it could jeopardize in going back to the town.
Any questions? A moment.
No questions. I think that there is support out there for this. I agree. We've kind of learned the hard way that if you don't move fast on land acquisitions, there is a problem. So I think that overall, I think that there'll be quite a few residents that will be happy to see this move forward. So.
Yeah, I concur with you. It's a long time coming. We've talked about this for years, just trying to get the process started. And I think it's a great location. It's a great investment in the West Main Street corridor. Yeah, and I think I'm happy to put this forward to the whole town.
And I appreciate you bringing up the unique situation and how this is not precedent setting, and the respect for the process and why there's a need for it at this time. I think that's helpful for anybody that possibly.
And I appreciate that. And I know everybody, and I know everybody has served a long time in various capacities. We all respect that process, and that process is designed for a specific reason. Unfortunately, I think as we can all appreciate, there are these extraordinary moments, and it always seems when land acquisition, my experience with the towns involved, the timing, there's a extraordinary exception on this piece of it. Once the land is secured, then the rest of the project, which is the lion's share of it, of course, must go through the whole process. So I appreciate that consideration, and I would hope that the board would consider the $80,000 extension on the authorization as a contingency. As you all know, we don't borrow till we need to, and we only borrow what we have to.
I'm all for the extra. I've seen these things happen where you're like, oh, we have to go back to town meeting.
Right.
And in this case, it wouldn't be till the spring, and that could mess up the deal.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So definitely.
And the final point, because I know Selectmen have brought this up, and people are familiar with the property about its environmental history. Over $1 million was done already on the initial remediation. And the most recent remaining issues had to do with the interior air quality of the existing building. Obviously, that building is going to be demolished. What I'm getting at is the importance, and I appreciate the board's support on this. So the public understands if the phase 1 and the phase 2 show that there's a fundamental problem that the board, the town is not comfortable with, the town does not have to proceed. And the same with the appraisal. I mean, those are two requirements. So as we'll explain to town meeting, Article 4 is giving the select board the authorization to move forward with the acquisition, but with safeguards in the town's interest moving forward. I appreciate everybody's comments. I think that we're moving forward in the best interest of not only the seniors, but the town as a whole. Article, yeah.
So just a quick question. I think that the explanatory note is good, but do we maybe want to just add a little bit, because we have found that people are reading them. Should we maybe just add that, like you said, there is a safety net already built in, something to what you just said, but also put it in the explanatory note also, so that the read ahead people are like, okay,
Excellent point. So we'll add an explanation of the contingencies, as you said, the safeguards.
Yeah.
And we'll also explain that the 670,000 is the price of the land, that the 80,000 is only for, if, like a contingency.
Right.
Is that what, okay?
Yeah.
Yep, and then the safety nets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Article 5, the superintendent did cover, so that was left blank. The good news is we were fearful it would be somewhere between 700 and 800,000. Obviously, the figure he's asking for is 610. I don't believe there's any other questions on Article 5. Article 6 was also covered very well by Janet Provadakis, is the establishment of the Ayer Affordable Housing Trust. This establishes the trust, establishes the 7 members, and then the group will come back at the annual with the specific bylaws, as she mentioned. Article 7, she also clearly outlined, transfers $30,000 from CPA housing to the trust.
Robert?
Yes,
Robert, it's Janet. Can I ask one question?
through the chair, yep.
Sean, to the chair, can I ask, with regards to Article 6, I'd like to get the word fund removed from the first sentence, because it's going to be known as the Ayer Affordable Housing Trust. It's not going to be known as the Ayer Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Got it, Janet, thank you. I had that previously.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll say the fund is gone and trust.
Correct. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And so then Article 8, again, is the Sandy Pond School Association Phase 2 of the restoration project. And many of you were there for the celebration for Phase 1. That's in the amount of $187,340. And the CPC has conducted all of the necessary meetings and public hearings for that. And then lastly, Article 9, as was touched upon, asks town meeting to authorize the extension of water and sewer lines on Harvard Road into the town of Harvard.
Yes, so on this one, like the explanatory note doesn't really provide a scope or a scale of the project. And I think that for the last time something was came forward at town meetings, there's definitely some concern over what Harvard wants to put right on the border. So if we can get actual details for town meeting, so they can make an educated decision whether or not they want to approve this.
I think that's an excellent point, Selectman Hood. So what if we put in the note, obviously, present, to the extent we can, presentation at town meeting? I think we should.
Yeah, just something that says like how many units, what the breakdown will look like, you know, just more than just a residential project.
Here?
Yes.
And if we could, if as part of the presentation at town meeting, maybe kind of indicate like how much revenue this could bring into the town of Ayer.
Okay, so why don't we'll do 3 things, all excellent points. One is I'll work with the superintendent to the extent we can put a little more detail, as you're saying, number of units, go in the explanatory note. We'll add presentation at town meeting, so that presentation has some more info. And then to your point, Selectman Livingston, some estimated revenue cost information.
Right, because then that helps tie in, like, if, you know, approved, we get this much, which helps, you know, go to the water to clean up this much, and it all benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And that, if you will, is the fall town meeting warrant for October 26th, 2020 at 7.
Any other questions?
No other questions. I'll move motion for approval, correct? I'll make a motion to approve the 2020 special fall town meeting warrant with the edits discussed this evening.
Second. Oh, sorry. I thought you were going
It's
to
just
say.
sounded, sorry, it sounded too short. but-
Right.
It did, and then I thought you were done, so, yeah. And I can't see your lips move, so. okay.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
The chair says aye, so the town meeting warrant with edits
Yep.
has been approved.
So we will incorporate those edits and get the warrant ready and get that posted and ready for printing and mailing. Thank you all, and we'll be doing some more outreach, obviously, as I mentioned, on the various topics leading up to town meeting. Related to that is the issue of reducing the quorum for the special fall town meeting. And I outlined the statutory process in there. And one of the things, there's always a wrinkle, of course, this is an emergency provision. If the board chooses to reduce the quorum, which you can to no less than 10%, you have to do it at a meeting that's posted 7 days in advance. Why they didn't just stick with the open meeting law of, the usual is 7 days. So I know what the board's feelings are. The quorum is 50. The recommendation would be to reduce it, and my memo, and it's up to the board, you could reduce it as little as 5, but I think maybe a number of 25, or whatever the board decides, for 2 reasons. One, it ensures that there'll be a quorum at 7, which I think we're going to exceed it, but it just ensures that at 7, we can start with the quorum. And secondly, which is more important, as we witnessed a little concern towards the end of the annual town meeting recently, people sometimes have to leave and so forth as town meeting's going. If you drop below the quorum and somebody makes a quorum call and so forth, the meeting has to adjourn and continue. So it's sort of a safeguard. So if the board is interested, the one thing is we would just have to post a special meeting. We could do it by Zoom if the board chooses with this topic. The board would vote for whatever that number is. Upon your vote, we send the approved agenda, the minutes, and your vote to the Attorney General's office prior to the town meeting on October 26th. So
we literally can't do it right now? Because I know this says no less than 7 days prior, so does it say like no more than 10 or something? So, okay, I can zoom in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in the interest of time, do you want to maybe have us send out, you think maybe we could do it next week? I mean, we pick a date for next week. We'll make sure it works for everybody. Next week is the week of the
12, so.
we need 7 days, yeah.
Yeah, so that would be the 19th. If we're supposed to meet on the 20th, which would be 6 days before town meeting.
Well,
And this has to be 7 days, then it would have to be the 19th.
We have to post
It
that.
has to be 7 days from the date posted, and then 7 days prior, no less than
Okay,
7 days prior to town meeting.
No,
This whole 7 days.
I'm sorry. So you have to give notice that that the board is going to reduce. We have to give a 7-day notice. I'm sorry, a 7-day notice.
Okay.
But I'm saying we have to leave a little bit of time. You can't do it the day before the 26th, because the Attorney General has to get it. So I was thinking maybe something.
No, that's okay. Is there a regulation of how close to town meeting we can do it?
No.
It doesn't say that. I just didn't want to get us completely like
Oh,
the day before. So
I understand.
Yeah.
There was like 7 and then 7.
yeah.
It was very confusing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
When's our next meeting?
So that we meet on the 20th.
We'd have to post the whole agenda by like the 12th.
What about doing 2 concurrent back-to-back Board of Selectmen meetings? We do one posted for just that specific regarding the quorum for town meeting. Open the meeting, have our discussion, take our vote, close it, and open the next meeting. So maybe we start at like 5:45.
Yeah. That could be.
Kind of when we do like a special town meeting in front of like the annual town meeting to pay for
Right.
year bills or something, we just do like, so that way we only need to post a single agenda for the quorum item, which will be 7 days ahead of time. But then the regular agenda will follow the normal process and go out three business days ahead.
The other 48 hours.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Okay. So it should be separate agendas?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we could post, so what you're saying, Selectman Hood, post the quorum meeting, say for 5:45 PM on October 20th.
Okay.
You call the meeting to order, you discuss, you vote, you adjourn, and then say the regular meeting call to order at 6.
Okay.
And we
Yeah.
have that posted next week
Yeah, so,
for the forum.
so we can post the first one as early as frankly tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the second agenda can be posted on our normal cycle.
Okay.
Okay. I think we got it.
Yeah.
All right. So everything's happening on the 20th.
Everything's that.
All right.
Good solution.
Okay. So
All
yeah,
right.
just tell me what happened.
Yes, we'll clarify in an email, yeah. Yeah. Okay, the budget calendar, and again, we're looking ultimately for the board to take a vote on the 20th, so in the interest of time, Carly, and I appreciate it, has updated since we last sent it to you, so the rate review, and Janice will talk about that in her report, but the rate review has been added, the OPEB meetings have been added, the capital directive is going to go out this Friday, and I'll contact the capital planning committee to set up their meetings, so we'll add that. The budget directive is, where the budget is shifting almost a month earlier, so the budget, and the departments know this, the budget directive will go out the first Friday in November, and budgets will be due the beginning of December. So that gives, the budgets will come in before all of the holidays. So as you know, the town meeting and the budget process moved up 2 weeks, so we've accelerated that. The capital requests, just backing up, this Friday, and they'll be due on October 30th. The folks will have a month. So capital is looking to be light. We'll talk more about the directive. So those dates are in there as well. We do need to populate the buy board, which we'll coordinate on. Am I missing any other since we last met that you populated?
The budget directive, capital directive, yes, OPEB.
Yep.
Yep.
And the FinCom chair is going to get me their dates for their meetings. So it's coming together. So again, take a look at it. If there's any questions, anything you want to add or so forth, we can do that.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So I just want to point out something. So in November, it's listed November 10th that the first capital planning meeting is going to happen, which is actually earlier than it. You rushed me through it last year. How come whoever now gets to start in November?
I like to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, I guess so. I believe the last time we left, when we were talking about capital planning for the appointment, I was there last year, and I said that, I'd be willing to continue, but I don't know if somebody else wanted to do it also, but looking at the 10th, there's the rate review committee, and then it would roll into a first capital planning meeting. So again, I don't mind staying on it. It rolls in together, but I just did want to remind you both of that in case somebody else was interested, so that maybe the next meeting we can go over that. Otherwise, I'll just stay on.
It's up to you. You've been on that for a while, so if you want to step away, I could avoid. I think with remote participation, it's a little bit easier. They usually earlier than that.
Yeah, because I think our rate review, what time did we set it up? 4, so they would probably be right after that, like at 5. Yeah, so, and they kind of roll into one as far as the two committees, so, but anyways, I just wanted to bring that up. Other than that, I think the calendar was good.
So like I said, we'll finalize it on the 20th to be good. Next, November 3rd, and we'll have completed the election year. It seems we keep hitting this as of the first Tuesday. November 3rd is the presidential election. That would normally be the board's first November meeting, as has become sort of the broken record this election, and we need to pick a different date and time. I don't know if the board had a chance to look, if it has any suggestions on that, because the voting will be underway here for that night.
So just looking at the calendar, I just want to so we don't conflict with anyone else. November 2nd, which is a Monday, there's nothing going on. November 4th is the Wednesday.
CPC will meet, usually they've been at 7, we could do an earlier start at like 5. They just need a half hour in between meetings to transfer over the Zoom stuff. And then that Thursday the 5th, it looks like conservation and they have a standing meeting. It's usually a long one, so.
Yeah. I can't do the 5th.
I'm fine with the Monday, the 2nd.
Yeah, the second
You
one.
know, especially since it sounds like there would be no conflicts.
Right.
Right.
And this room isn't needed for the next day or anything, like we're not gonna disrupt any setup.
So we've talked with Susan about that and oh no, the early voting will be done by then, so we won't have any conflict.
All right.
So Monday, November 2nd at 6. Okay, excellent. And then I'm going to turn the next 2 items, which are my last 2 items, the amendment number 6 and the discussion on extension of outdoor dining service over to the assistant town manager who prepared both items for the meeting. Carly?
So the first item is from Devon's, our annual agreement with them to provide veteran services for those who live in the Ayer portion of Devon's. We just need to re-up that. It's about this time every year. And that allows, again, Mike Cotillion to service those veterans. This will be like the 6th extension. So we're just respectfully requesting that you approve the extension for another year.
Any concerns or questions from the board members?
No, I don't know. It's a signature by the chair.
I'll make a motion to approve amendment number 6 to the agreement with veteran services with Devon's Consumption.
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. The amendment, the agreement is approved. Perfect.
Thank you. And then for number 8, which is the outdoor dining. As you guys are aware, and I had sent the email, the governor's emergency order was November 1st, that businesses could extend their outdoor dining without going before the ABCC to alter their premise due to COVID. They've now extended that order. It's a kind of unextended there's no real deadline per se. It's up to 60 days after they lift the state of emergency. So we have 3 restaurants participating right now, the Neshoba Club, Bar 25, obviously with the Jersey barriers out front, Lucia's out front, and then they have a separate license for Outback. So I've talked to all the business owners. The Neshoba Club and Lucia's Outback is not an issue to extend, and I talked with the DPW, police, fire, because they're contained within. They don't impede any street access and whatnot. The DPW, police, and fire are recommending that if we extend the outdoor for Main Street, that it only go until November 14th at the latest, because the parking ban starts November 15th. And the DPW needs their Jersey barriers back, especially during the winter months. I've talked to all the business owners. Lucia's is totally fine with taking down their front, because they have the back option. They have heaters out there that have all been licensed by the fire department. And Bar 25 said, hey, whatever we can get into November, and he understands the need for the Jersey barriers. That was kind of one of our agreements in the beginning, when the town needed them. Either he'd have to provide them himself or, move his operation inside. But I think I talked to him, and it's more than fair, given that the seating at the bar is now available, and he can have some more capacity inside. He's looking at adding some tables in the common area in the back, which is all allowed under the ABCC. So I would just, I guess I would ask for an extension on the permits till, I actually think the Neshoba Club and Lucia's out back could go indefinitely, because they're, again, not causing, but if we limit Lucia's out front and bar 25, it's a Saturday, which is November 14th, I believe. That way, it coincides with the parking ban. Yeah, the 14th is a Saturday, so that would be the last day. And obviously, if it's 20 below, no one's gonna be sitting out there anyway.
Right.
And the DPW, I think they can wait until Monday to get the barriers. I'd like to give the businesses the weekend, at least Friday, Saturday.
I agree. So,
And Mark Wetzel, we've talked about it, and he's okay with it. So the motion, and again, it's just I can update their permits, is to Lucia's out front and bar 25 extend until November 14th. And then,
the 14th,
Do you need
the
to extend it till
15th, the 15th is a Sunday, and they're open for business. Do you want to give them that Sunday?
yeah, let's,
So the 16th.
Say the
Yeah,
16th
okay.
to the-
Yeah, that'll work.
how about through November 15th?
Yeah, through, so that.
Through midnight, on the 15th.
Yeah.
Right.
And then,
Or whatever, because I think we're at 25. is open now, but
yeah.
Through close of
So
business.
I don't think 52 is going to show up at midnight.
I hope not, but.
Yeah.
So then, if we could just extend indefinitely at this time, to the Neshoba Club and Lucia's out back, because I don't expect them to go much further than November 15th anyway. But again, if it's on their
We
own.
could have a really warm season.
Right.
Right, it doesn't
Like
impact,
we had
yeah.
before, so.
Doesn't
Well,
impact.
there's going to be some diehards out there.
Yeah.
Don't mind having dinner in a snowstorm.
Set up the TV and watch
That'd
like
be
that. Yeah. So,
Okay, so you need a motion for bar 25 till November 15th.
Yep.
And then the Neshoba Club and Lucia's indefinitely?
yeah, Lucia's out back
Lucia's out back
and then
and the
Neshoba.
Neshoba Club.
Do you want me to give a motion?
Sure.
Okay. I'll make a motion to extend the outdoor seating, outdoor dining service for Lucia's out front and bar 25 through November 15th.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Motion passes.
I'll make a motion to extend indefinitely outdoor dining service for the Neshoba Club and Lucia's to the rear of the building. Indefinitely.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Motion passed.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Thank you for your time.
The next item up is the business selection. I just wanted to take a moment, my portion to recognize Lori Fritz from the assistant town clerk. Lori has been working for the town of Ayer for 30 years as an assistant town clerk. And on behalf of the town of Ayer, the select board, I'd like to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation. So thank you, Lori. And I don't think she's on them, but
She had a conflict, Mr.
Oh,
Chairman.
okay.
I did invite her to participate remotely. She was most appreciative of the recognition of her 30 years of service. And I know her direct supervisor appears on the screen, the town
yes.
clerk.
Would you like to say anything on behalf of your assistant?
Well, she doesn't know what all the fuss is about. But but she truly is a tremendous asset to not only the office, but the town as a whole. She has knows so much history and has a great relationship with the residents and other departments. And she's just a very dedicated employee, which especially this year, this recent election that we are in the middle of, it's been very trying and has almost had changes daily. And it's been a lot of adjustments, but she's She's very reliable and here all the time, except tonight, which is always ironic, I think. Like the person that gets the perfect attendance award isn't there that day. But so I'm just so grateful to have her working with me. And yeah, so I'm just thankful also to the board for recognizing her, because 30 years is pretty tremendous.
Yeah, it is.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Okay, next up, we have a rate review committee update from board member Louise.
Actually, I'm gonna just swap mine a little
Oh,
bit,
okay,
okay?
sure.
So I have, so as some might know, Mary Spinner has resigned, from the Board of Health, an elected position, and all of her committees and boards that she has served on. She has served this town in a volunteer capacity as an appointee, as under an election for about 40 years. I think, and I believe she's been on the Board of Health. Well, I know she's been on the Board of Health for the last decade or so. And she was a nurse who also made sure she kept up her certification all these years. I remember her telling me that not about 2 years ago, that she keeps up her certification because it was so important to her. She worked so hard for it. And so she always kept that up. Some of you would always recognize her, the back of her head from the videos. And it's so sad that 2020 has affected all of us in so many ways. And I honestly was looking forward to the day when we could all be back together again and I could see Mary sitting there. So I just wanted to make sure that Mary knows really how appreciative we are of her. She and I always didn't agree, and you know, it'd be kind of funny. I kind of, you know, walk home going, huh, I just got sent to the corner. And yet I looked forward to seeing her again and having a discussion. She was able to keep the most meticulous notes. And thank goodness for that, because there were times over the years that she reminded all of us of things that are going on. So I want her to know that as a volunteer, you have been appreciated. You will be missed. I served with you on the rate review committee, capital planning, had you sitting, you know, keeping us on point all these years. And I just want to say, on behalf of the select board, we'd like to present to you a certificate of recognition. The certificate is presented to Mary Spinner in valuable recognition of her years of dedicated service and volunteerism to the town of Ayer in various capacities, which included elected member of the Board of Health, advisory committee member, capital planning committee member, rate review committee, and the 4th of July committee. On behalf of the town of Ayer, the Ayer Select Board expresses its sincere gratitude and appreciation on this momentous occasion. Signed, Sean C. Copeland, Chair, Scott A. Hood, Vice Chair, Janice L. Livingston, Clerk, on this date. I also want to just point out, in case she hears about this, we probably have forgotten some committee or board that she has served on. And I just want to say, I'm sorry that we forgot those ones. But you will be very much missed having you a part of all these boards and committees. And I just wanted Mary to know that. So, and on that note, I will also point out that it would appear that we have an opening on the rate review committee. So we met on September 29th. So one of the first things we did was we agreed and we voted on to not recommend any rate increases regarding the transfer station. So I repeat, no permit increases, no bag increases, nothing. We are going to continue to reevaluate the situation. And so there is the possibility, I stress the word possibility, that maybe in the spring there could be some type of a change. but we're watching it and, but it was pretty unanimous that we're not making any changes right now. We did a lot of changes last year and now this year is just not the need to do it. We also discussed as to far as, and we've done this before, kind of having some type of slide put on Facebook and whatnot to kind of show, you know, the benefits of using the transfer station. You know, there's often discussion people will have, like who you use, how much does it cost? If you look at the permit price, it comes down to about $7.91 a month. And then, of course, the bags are pay as you throw. So we're going to once again just, you know, remind everybody, because the biggest thing we've found over the years is that it does seem to be the closer you are to the transfer station, the more apt to use it. The further out, we're not necessarily wanting to use it. But just to remind people it's there, okay? So one of the other things that was discussed is it is being proposed to potentially, I want to make sure I'm stressing this right, to create 2 new positions. One being a new superintendent, but it would be for the water. So it would kind of separate, currently Mark Wetzel, he's done a wonderful job, an absolutely phenomenal job. But I think we can all agree that he's really had to wear a lot of hats, had a lot of things to do. So it's being suggested that possibly having like 2 superintendents, so that you have one taking care of the water and the wastewater, which with everything going on in the PFAS, thank goodness we've had Mark because he's been on it like, you know, butter and bread, you know. So that is being discussed. It will go through the process as far as kind of being reviewed, a job description created, and then, you know, like potential like salary. But the bottom line is, if it is decided that the board likes that idea, the town of Ayer has the final say as to whether or not that position is created. So I just want to remind everyone of that. I do think that the idea has some merit. I have expressed a concern that due to the restrictions that we've had in COVID, the impacts on people, that maybe it won't be feasible to bring it forward in the spring, but then again, tomorrow could be a brand new day and you know, everything will work out and it will be. But I am a little cautious about it, but I also think the idea has some merit. So the other position this one would be a more of a part-time position, and this is a backup for Pam, which really that one is like, oh, wow, you're right. She's taking care of all the billing and my goodness, we could list a whole lot of things that she does. But she doesn't have a backup. You know, Mark in a way does have a backup with Dan and all the others, but Pam doesn't have a backup. And, you know, goodness gracious, she was out a week or so indisposed. That could create a problem. So that would be a potential part-time position. Again, it's going to go through the review process and everything as far as that goes, be presented to the board in an open meeting for discussion. And then if, you know, it was decided that it was a good idea, then it would, of course, again, it would go to town meeting and town would approve. Okay? But those are things that are being discussed right now. So right now we see both the water and sewer collections are on budget, so everything's looking good on that. And then of course I'll remind everybody that the public hearing for the water and sewer rates are normally around the late March, early April. And so stay tuned for that. And the last time the committee had met was in February, and at the time we said, yeah, we'd like to meet every 2 months. Of course, that went to the wayside. But as you could saw from the draft calendar, we are back. We've scheduled it so that it's about every 2 months. Some meetings might only last 30 minutes, you know, because there might not be too much going on. But it will also help the committee just stay on top of things a little bit better as things go on. And then as we get into more of the January, February, we'll meet a little bit more often because that's when we are really kind of working on the rates to bring forward to the board in the public hearing to go forward with that. So, and I don't think I've missed anything. Did I miss anything? So, and so that would be my rate review update.
Great, thank you. Okay, and moving along, the next item is approval of meeting minutes for the September 15th, 2020.
I don't think I noticed anything incorrect. So I'll make a motion that the meeting minutes from September 15th be approved.
Second. Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Chair says aye. Minutes are approved. And that brings us to the end of our regular agenda items. And we need to go into executive session. Sit down.
No, I'm sorry, I'm really busy today. All right, I think I can do it.
I think you can too.
Sending me compliments, those guys.
My Jedi vibes.
Yeah. I make a motion that the select board move into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, exemption number 2, non-union personnel contract negotiations, fire chief contract. Number 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, 211 West Main Street parcel. The Board of Selectmen, the select board would then adjourn from executive session and not return into open session. And to do so in an open meeting could give away our negotiation strategy.
That was very well done.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The chair says aye. Well, the roll. Oh, sorry. Board member Livingston.
Yes.
And board member Hood. Aye. And board member Copeland is aye. And we are in executive session.
Okay.